me go ahead. I already have the refinement board up. I'll pull up typewriters in a second. Alrighty. Cool. Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Mike.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So we can talk about this one here in a second. Before I do that, are there any open questions on dev design we need to talk about, or are we okay there?
Thank you. I'll take this too. Can I? It hurts.
No. Fruits are natural.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do this one real quick first. And then we can talk about it. This one's a tech debt one, so I'll just kind of let the Avinash, if you want to let us know what we think the points are here. I don't know that we would really relative size this one.
Yeah, it's just actually the authentication API. So there's some vulnerability issue. So the way the log is handling, so it's having some vulnerability issue. We need to handle that, rewrite the logs level, like log or the error is handling with the log. So we need to do the coding for that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm fine. It's like the point is fine for me.
How many points?
I forgot to
3
hang it.
points.
It's on the. Is it on the ground?
Okay. All right.
I have it in my.
Here.
Oh, it's on the ground? No. Oh man, sorry.
All right. And then I'll go ahead and move that into ready for dev. Okay. All right. So I did move this story over to trigger the PHI release form to print. I did get the actual, I did get what the form looks like. So we will need to have a story for them to create the form, like the template in OnBase. I do have a PDF of the form. I have never created a story like that, so I don't really know how to do it. So looking for some help around that.
Mike, can you just explain the process, like
Sure. Let me show what the screen looks like.
big picture? Because like I'm trying to validate these test cases, but I'm not sure how this works.
Yeah, so essentially there's a form in RGH that they can trigger to print. And essentially what it does is it just prints off it prints off a form.
What is it? RGH prints off a form?
Yes. Yeah.
And where does it print?
To the mailroom. Just like these top two do.
So it prints on like a printer? Or okay.
Yep. Yeah, because we have to send it physically. We're not allowed to mail it. These top two we can email, but this PHI release one we can only mail. Hence why when we click it, we want this to automatically be selected and start showing the addresses, and they can't choose email.
If they have multiple addresses, can they pick multiple or just one?
Yep. Yeah, they can pick. Well, they could send it to multiple ones, but they'd have to do it like individually. It's not one that we can click over and over again.
Okay, so it's just one, and then, so how do you test that it's printed in the mailroom?
So we should be able to print that it generates and that it sends, because we've tested these before, and these work the same way.
But how? Where do you test that? Like, where do you validate that?
We'd have to look at those test cases to see if they were validating it from an on-base standpoint, or if they were actually like looking to see if it actually printed anywhere.
So I guess I'm missing something then, because you said that it prints directly to a printer in the mailroom. What
Yep.
does OnBase have to do with it?
OnBase creates the document. So these documents have information on them, right? So it not only has to print just like a template, but OnBase generates the form. It pulls in the information. So for example, on this form, the account number is shown.
Huh?
I believe the
Oh,
address
this-
is shown, and the customer's name is shown. So that has to generate onto the form. OnBase will create that, and then OnBase will send it to the mailroom to print after that. Just like these ones. So patient consent is the same thing. Patient consent, I believe, has the account and the number, and then we give them the address. I don't know if it's on the actual form or if it's on like a cover letter that OnBase does, but we send them the address too, obviously, so they know where it goes, right?
Okay. So current state, if we picked patient consent and marketing consent and mail and clicked like the button and said submit,
Mhm.
then we should see those forms in OnBase?
Yes.
Where in OnBase?
Don't know. You'd have to ask Dave Badansky. I don't know which folder it goes to. As I was saying, I believe we already have these test cases. Because this blew up. I remember, if you remember, Alicia, this blew up back when we were still in the office, and they wanted to like retest it because they're like, wait, where are these mailroom documents going? So I know we had the tests created way back when. I don't know anybody that's rerun a test on it, but I know there were tests out there. So I would be assuming. Now, again, this PHI release right now isn't created at OnBase because current state in RGH, you go into RGH and you print this form. The problem is the screen that you can print that form from is a screen that is locked once we have a quote unquote migrated account or icon account. So you can't get to that screen to print it anymore, hence why we need to recreate it in Icon. So instead of being able to use RGH's functionality, now we have to create it in OnBase so that we can follow the normal flow of documents.
Okay, so this card is just covering this UI?
This card will cover the UI, and then, like I said, I need help making the separate card because Dave said we would need a story to actually create the template in OnBase. He gave me what the document looks like, so he gave me it in a PDF form. That should be good enough, I would think.
Okay.
Then we might need another story that will handle sending that information to that form. You know what I mean? Like generating the form with that information from Icon.
So why wouldn't that be the same story?
It could be, right? I don't know how they want to break it apart. I don't do any OnBase work, so yeah, it definitely could be the same.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get the big picture here because I think maybe this was discussed when I was on PTO, but so the user comes into this UI, clicks PHI release and mail, and picks their address, clicks submit. Then from there, it goes and gets generated in OnBase with the data populated.
Yep.
Then from there, OnBase sends it to the mailroom.
Yep.
So I'm thinking we just need I don't know how that process works where it goes from OnBase to the mailroom. Is that like automatic, or does someone in the mailroom go in and just print them all off?
No, as I understand it, it's automatic today. Okay. After it generates, it prints to that specific place, and then it just sits on the printer, and they just go in and pick them up and look at the address, make an envelope, and then send it.
Okay, so from a functional perspective, I'm just thinking from like, how do we test this? I don't know how we would test we could test that the form gets generated in OnBase. We can test once the form is generated that it gets sent to the mailroom. Maybe.
Yeah, we can probably ask Dave if he has a way of tracking that or not. Like, how do we know, right?
These will all these cards will have to be dependent on each other because we can't really do one without the others.
Yeah, agreed.
We can't I'd be concerned about this UI card being deployed without having anything behind it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, because the only reason we had this one just sitting out in front was because when I was originally told about this card, I was told that this was exactly like the other ones and they generated out of on base. When I talked to Dave, he told me, nope, this one isn't actually after he looked into it because he wasn't aware of it, probably because it doesn't come in on base, but he wasn't really aware of what I was talking about. So it took him about a day or two to figure out like, hey, oh yeah, this actually isn't an on base at all. So we need to generate it. And then he tracked down a copy of what the form looked like so that we could recreate it. And he said we just need an actual story to also, create the template in on base so that we can do that work.
So is that how it works in RGH? When they print the form in RGH, it goes to OnBase and then is sent to the mailroom? Or is it something else?
Comes right out. It goes right out of RGH. RGH generates the form itself.
So does OnBase have a process where they send anything to the mailroom, or is this
These
a brand
two do.
new?
No, these top two already do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Why don't you send me the PDF? I'll try and at least create the story for generating the form.
Yeah.
I just need to know which fields need to be populated.
Okay.
And I will create a shell story just so we can track the dependency for sending that to the mailroom.
Yeah, I think obviously the long pole in the tent is going to be on base doing their piece of it, so we wouldn't be able to pull this story into Sprint until they were already doing the on base piece of it, right?
So from like a planning perspective, would we want those on base stories done first? I would think yes, because the UI would have to be dependent on both of those being done.
Yes, because I would think we could at least test. I'm pretty sure Dave could at least, if we had the template in there, he could probably at least find a way to push the information in to show that it could at least generate, right? So I think they could at least test the generation of the document if they had the template.
Okay. Do we need to set up a meeting with Dave, like a quick 30-minute meeting, just to be like, hey, this is...
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt once we have our shell up. If we can get our shell together today, maybe we can try to grab them Thursday or Friday.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just send me the PDF and the fields that need to be populated, and I can at least create that one and then a shell to send it to the mailroom.
Okay, awesome. So that's the main one that I had there. I will try to get a shell story up today as well for adding. Let me get the number. Hold on. 13927. Okay. So this is our epic that honestly we're kind of supposed to be working, but this other one kind of slowed me the heck down. So I don't know how much progress we can make on this in tandem as well. But this is adding these insurance types to the payer master. So making these available insurance types to payer master. And then after we do so, they will update all the plans with these insurance types.
So these are just adding these types as like values in a dropdown. I'm not super familiar with how it's designed, but I assume it's like a dropdown where a user can pick which type it is.
Yep.
Is it just this one field, or are there multiple fields where type is listed?
It's just in payer master, it's just the one, and then we show it in other places, but it always pulls from payer master.
Okay.
So if we update what they can set as payer master, it should pull through to any of the other screens.
Will the insurance search in the front end be impacted? Like, are we adding more values, or are these going to map up to the ones that are already there?
So funny you should say. So yes and no. So it won't affect. It should not infect. Not infect. It's not a disease. It shouldn't affect the internal search, because the internal search just pulls its list of values again from the payer master list. So it shouldn't affect internal. The only way it should affect external is because external, remember, doesn't let you select individual insurance type. It lets you select like one of 2 or 3, where it says non-Medicare, non-Medicaid. and then there's one that lets you search for Medicare, and then there's one that lets you search for Medicaid. So that's what these 2 bullet points are about. So we would need a story as well that says that these FEP, TRICARE, and PFFS should then map to this. So if you select non-Medicare, non-Medicaid, you could get an FEP plan. If you're trying to get a state Medicaid, you would need to use Medicaid. Otherwise, it would get, excluded off of the list.
So are the ones listed here, FEP, TRICARE, PFFS, state Medicaid, and managed Medicaid, are all those the new ones in this list? So you put the complete list, but you didn't actually put which ones were new?
The new ones are FEP, TRICARE, PFFS, and then they've split. So we already technically had managed Medicaid, and Medicaid sat within that, and now it's state Medicaid on its own.
Okay. So we just need to make sure that mapping is also documented somewhere. I just want to make sure that, okay.
So we'll have to create stories for both of those things, and then we'll just have to do some discovery after the fact, or as we're continuing working on this to see, are there any other plans that use insurance type only outside of ODM? So for everything that uses insurance type in ODM, the data team said they will handle that. So when we have this in PayerMaster, they will get the data harvested in to all the ODM rules to make sure the ODM rules work with these new ones. The only ones that we would have to know outside of that is any other BLP using the PayerMaster insurance type, but is not using ODM. So for example, I think Liz had brought up when we're generating sometimes a DWO, for example, we use all the plans on file, or all the plans that are within the FRAU, and we use the most restrictive is what we call that. And that's a hierarchy that we've built in to say this insurance type is more restrictive than this insurance type. So therefore, if this insurance type is there, you need to use that. I don't think any of these are more restrictive than what's already there. So it may be very simple to just slide them into the top level because, again, these top 3, they want to treat like commercial, essentially, because it's in the non-Medicare, non-Medicaid section. So I don't think it will be very difficult, but those are the types of things that we're just going to have to tie up just to make sure we're getting kind of the right aspect. As far as I understand, the major push of this one, is the FEP, and it's really about rebates for this new type of product that's going to be coming in. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get paid correctly for these FEPs. That's the main reason they want this in. So they don't expect a lot of delta anywhere else. And these insurance types are really more aligning to what they would have expected. I guess back when Sarah Rude was still here, she had kind of tried to squish these insurance types together so that we didn't have so many insurance types. And then now we're coming full circle to coming back to having all the insurance types again that we have in RGH. So that's just kind of where we're at.
So this epic will cover adding the new types in PayerMaster.
Yeah.
Mapping them so external search can align them with what exists for the search criteria.
Yep.
And then are we also creating a card for ODM to manage that work?
No, I would believe that would be done on the ODM.
The data team.
On the data team. So we'll let the ODM team know, and bigger boats can handle the data harvesting cards for it.
And then is there any other scope I'm missing here?
Just, again, we'll probably just have to do our due diligence, a quick look through the BLPs from an order processing side to see, again, if they're using insurance type, and just double check that they're using ODM. If they're not using ODM, we'll just have to do a quick look to see, like, do we think this would affect it? If it does, then we may need a card.
Can you add that to this?
Yep.
Too, just to make sure that we've hit all of the major scope of the epic.
Yep.
I know that seems like a little more detailed, but
sure.
Let's make sure we have it so we don't forget it.
Yeah, it kind of came up after we did all of this. Like I think we were talking about in the design committee, so it wasn't just a bullet point I had from before. So we'll need to assess if any BOPs are affected by this. Assumption is only if the BOP is using insurance type, but not ODM. All right, so I will try to at least get that first story out here for this. I may be able to get the 2 shelled out. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit of a weird day because I'm getting pulled into a lot of directions. So, yeah. I want to just let people be able to ask open questions because we're almost running into it. But then I do have like another announcement to kind of talk through real quick. So does anybody have anything else that I didn't get to before I talk about anything else?
I'll have a question to Vikram later. This is outside of requirement. It's industry for the expired token.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I have a question to Vikram later after your next discussion. This is regarding the expired token.
Okay. So yeah, it's not really, it's just a quick announcement of just like a change on the roadmap is all it really is. So we are trying our best to get all of the CGM must-have scales done before a certain date. That is kind of like the plan right now is we're trying to get stuff done before fiscal year, essentially. To that end, there was one more epic that needed to be tackled, which was Doctor Master Enhancements. Has to do with adding master data. So I had said that realistically, the team that should be doing that work is Grumbledores. They have Elaine on there who handles the doctor data anyway. They have people that are on the data team on there, and they're going to be handling master data. It doesn't make any sense really for another team to be trying to do that work and shoehorn in, especially when Elaine's kind of on a premium anyway with her time. So to that end, we had to try to figure out a way to try to move Parachute Health. So I think everybody can see where this is going. Parachute Health has now slid over onto our team. On the roadmap, it's still out pretty far, so we're not scheduled to start building it until May 29th. So sprint 180. So we still have time, but starting next sprint, we'll start having those conversations. There's already been a whole lot of conversations and notes taken and things, so we're not starting from like step 1. But I just wanted to make everybody aware. I literally just found out like 2 days ago. So this was kind of the first time we were talking about, the roadmap and everything like that, to have that conversation. So that's kind of what the plan is. Mohan will be able to help us out. As far as what's going on behind the scenes right now with it, Rita is working on a high-level design. High-level flow of what she already understands about it because she helped with the original Fusion project on there, working with Mohan to make sure that that's correct. And then we're meeting on next Tuesday with the business to agree that, yes, we have captured everything correctly and we know what the MVP is. After that, we will clean up the epic. And then by that point, we'll be into that time frame, like I said, where we'll start talking about it. So probably another week of work kind of outside of what we're talking about here. and then hopefully I'll have it cleaned up enough that we can start talking about it.
Hey, Mike, can you give an overview for what parachute health is? I don't know.
Sure.
The components.
Yes,
that.
I've done the elevator pitch enough times. I can give you a 5-minute spiel, not even like a 2-minute spiel. So essentially all it is, if you really want to think about it in its simplest terms, it is an automated fax. So it's a system by which a doctor enters an order for a customer. They order it through this portal called Parachute Health. Parachute Health then gives that to providers like Edge Park. And when we get that order, it falls into a bucket. And the bucket is a rep looks at it and says, okay, do I have the information that I'm supposed to have? So this is the not automated part of the automation, right? They do like a discerning check. Is this good enough? If it's good enough, they click an approval button, and that dumps it into the automated process. It first hits a traffic cop to say, should it go in Icon or should it go in RGH? That is already built. Right now, what happens is if it would go to Icon, it just automatically goes into the kickout process, and that's managed in Grid. So if the system can't find, like if the system can't run the order API that's already existing in RGH, then what it does is it drops it into Grid, and then somebody in Grid picks up the work and then creates the order manually, right? What we have to tackle is that next step. So after we've decided that it is an Icon customer, we have to then be able to handle that creation of an order. So what we'll need to do is the system similar to one click, and I don't want to give anybody traumatic stress about that, saying that word out loud, but similarly to one click, we'll just need it to dump the order kind of in the system, bypass the checks, and then kick off the alerts if there's information that's missing.
Are these all existing customers, Mike, or
Yes.
will there be new ones?
Nope. So the traffic cop will, if it's new, the traffic cop is going to automatically dump them into RGH. We will only be handling existing Icon customers.
At some point, will this have to scale, though?
Eventually, when we start to do new customers, then we will handle customers from Parachute being brand new. But until we have the manufacturer referral process done, the regular fax process done, and new customer done, we're not going to do that. That's not part of this scope. We just have to handle reorder, is what Jen Hood had said.
Okay, but in the back of our minds during design, we need to keep in mind that if we can make it so it's scalable and not throwaway work, that would be best case scenario.
Yes. Yeah. The other piece that we will have to handle, and I know I'm 1 minute over my 2-minute spiel, but the other piece that we will have to handle as well is if we are signaling that we do need a document because of an order, we need to be able to push that document through Parachute Health instead of the normal process. So for example, customers have been ordering with us. They order, and now we've noticed, their document is expired, right? If their document is expired, instead of faxing that doctor, if that doctor is a quote-unquote Parachute Health doctor, instead we need to push that document through Parachute Health because it goes back through the portal, and then the doctor sees, for customer 1234, I have to go ahead and sign for them. They sign on the portal and they push it back through.
Is there a way that we have those doctors identified somehow already,
Yes.
or is that part of the scope of this?
No, I believe they're using the e-prescribe flag that we had already set up before when we were going to do EPWO, the electronic. This is essentially EPWO 2.0, essentially.
Okay. So is the e-prescribe flag? I had no part of that work. So
yeah.
Is the e-prescribe flag on the doctor
Yes.
or on the person?
On the doctor.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's just like their MPI. It's on all lines of the doctor for that doctor.
Okay, got it.
No worries. I do have to drop because I have to go do some more stuff with Scrumble Doors and do their ad hoc stories right now and help them clean that up. Anybody wants to meet off handle to talk about it more, willing to talk about it, like I said, but there'll be tons more to come. where we'll talk about it. Hopefully we'll have a nice flow for you guys, and Mohan can talk about the work that they already did when they did the traffic cop, so we'll have a good understanding of where the code is at this point. Some code is built and just hasn't been tested, so obviously we'll have to look back through that, but we'll have it isn't starting in square one for a lot of this stuff. But yeah, that was my spiel. I do have to drop. Feel free to stay so that Joanne can answer her question. If anybody's got anything for me, just shoot it to me, and I'll be available today. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a quick question for you, Mike, but we can
Okay.
talk later.
Yeah, just ping it to me because I gotta go jump to the other call. But if you want to just ping it to me, we can either talk offline somewhere or I can answer it in the chat.
Can you please stay?
Yeah, I'll stay, John.
Vikram, my question is, this 13.8 to 885, the authentication error message token expired. I get the right message. However, when we
Hey,
get
Angel.
the old message before the code
Yeah,
was
Angel, the door is
pushed,
open. I just came
taking the
downstairs. I
user
opened the door.
into
All right.
authentication.
I'll see you in
It
just
directly
5,
takes
10
the
minutes.
user to the error message, which
All right,
is
thank you.
matching with the requirements here. My question is, do I have to trigger the reorders after your code was pushed so that the customer will be able to go into the login before getting the expired token, the expired message?
Yes, John. So if you want to see that login form, yes, you need to have a new one-click messages.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to trigger them. And your code was pushed this morning, right?
No, it was merged yesterday itself.
Yesterday. Okay, so
So
how?
Vikram, does she have to generate new emails that will be expired in 2 days in order for us to test this message? Or will the message generate on an old email if we try that?
Right. As John confirmed, it's already generating on the old messages, right, John? So what you wanted to test is the regression, right? Like whether that form is loading and the customer is able to log in.
The customer is not getting the login from the old message before you push your code. So my son received a message in March and he clicked on it only today, and it's not taking him into the login. It directly takes him into the error message, which is matching with the story here.
Okay, but that message could have already been clicked, maybe.
No, he did not click it at all. Only today.
Okay.
So that's expected, right? He's getting the message in the story?
The acceptance criteria says when the user enters the information, so the loop after clicking on the link, it should, on the expired link, you should be able to authenticate first and then you get the error message.
But he's getting the message before authenticating.
Right.
Because the link is expired.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe can you share your screen once, John?
Sure.
Yep.
Are we sure that the account that he used has items still? Did you look at the account before he clicked on the link?
Let me check.
Because if it doesn't have items anymore, then that would be expected. We can't use that one. We need one that still has items.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. last form was in March, way in March. So he got the message in March. And what happened is when he opened the text message,
And there were items, right? You said?
yes, there were items.
Yeah, that's the right message.
Yeah, the right message is good. And I asked him, did you get into the log, the, to authenticate?
No, you get the
He
link
said no.
before you authenticate. It will stop you.
Oh, so the acceptance criteria is saying when the user information into authentication screen and clicks continue, then the expired token displays. That when condition was skipped.
Okay, let me look at the process flow because, all right, customer clicks link in SMS. Has the customer clicked this link before or has 48 hours passed since SMS delivery? If yes, customer lands on expired link page. If no, customer lands on user authentic verification page to enter. Yes, that's what you've experienced is the right function. So I think the acceptance criteria must not be accurate because you don't log in to get expired.
Okay.
It's expired before you log in. We won't allow them to log in. There's no point because the link's already expired.
So 13885, is that okay to update the acceptance criteria and also the test cases?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's how it's documented. It's documented that if it's expired, then you give the message.
Yeah.
If it's not expired, then that's when you allow them to log in.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Is the copy and everything right though? You've validated that too?
The copy of what?
The message?
This.
Isn't that what we were isn't it a new message?
No, it's way old. From March.
No, not this message, John. The one that we are seeing on the screen.
The purpose of this card is to update the copy of the message.
The expired token message? Yes.
Yeah, isn't
Sorry,
it?
I thought you were asking about the message that was received for reorder. Matching with the requirement.
Okay, as long as the copy is right, then to me this is a pass given how it's documented functionally.
Right. Okay.
I will update the acceptance criteria because you don't need to authenticate to get this message. It happens before you authenticate. It happens when you get to the page.
Okay. We'll update that and also the test steps. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, that's all.
Were there any other questions before we move on? Okay, I assume no. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.